They say wine is truth in a bottle, darling. A lovely sentiment, isn't it? The kind of thing poets scrawl on napkins in dimly lit bistros. But some truths, like certain stubborn, deep-rooted vintages, are best left undisturbed in the darkest, coolest cellars of the soul. Ours at Sang della Terra, the Marchetti family vineyard, had a particularly ferrous aftertaste. A whisper of something far older, far more elemental than mere fermented grapes. I clutched the foreclosure notice, its crisp, official paper a stark profanity in the sacred dusty silence of the old barrel room. The scent of aging oak, of damp earth, and that faint familiar metallic tang, the ghost of a buried secret, swirled around me like a shroud. A sleek, black car, out of place as a panther in a sheepfold, crunched with an arrogant deliberation up the gravel drive. I didn't need to see the driver to know the scent of expensive Italian leather and old, dangerous, beautifully packaged promises that would follow. Silas Blackwood, a name that tasted like ash and wild, forbidden fruit on my tongue, had come home. And I knew, with the chilling certainty of a vine sensing the first frost, that he hadn't returned for the wine. When the ghosts of a past you thought long buried decide to pay a visit, bearing gifts that look suspiciously like salvation, do you bolt the door, or do you, with a sigh that is equal parts dread and a perverse, flickering hope, invite them in? What is the true price of preserving a legacy when the land itself whispers of unforgivable sins? I'd be most interested to hear your own uncorked philosophies in the comments below, and if you find yourself drawn to the complex bouquet of such human dramas, where heritage and heartache intertwine like ancient vines, please affirm your taste by liking this video. Subscribe to our channel for more intoxicating narratives from the shadowed terroir of the soul, and ensure your notifications are set. You wouldn't want to miss the next harvest of our particularly potent stories. Your presence in our vineyard is always appreciated. My name is Eleonora Marchetti, Nora to the few who still dared a familiarity. Sang della Terra, blood of the earth, was more than just a vineyard. It was my bloodline, my burden, my slowly crumbling inheritance. For 5 generations, Marchettis had coaxed forth wines of fierce, uncompromising character from this stubborn, sun-baked Calabrian soil, wines that whispered of ancient traditions and a certain untamed spirit. Now, under my stewardship, it was dying a slow, undignified death by 1,000 cuts of debt, outdated equipment, and the relentless encroachment of corporate wineries that valued volume over soul. Liam Vance, my husband, was a good man, an architect from Boston whose pragmatic New England sensibility was as alien to this passionate, superstitious land as he was. He loved me, I believed, in his quiet, steady way. But he saw Sang della Terra not as a living legacy, but as a failing asset, a beautiful anachronistic drain on our dwindling finances. His solution was simple, sensible, and to me a sacrilege: sell. Sell the land, sell the name, cut our losses, and retreat to a life of suburban predictability. He found comforting and I found suffocating. He didn't understand the way the red earth stained your soul, the way the ancient vines were an extension of your own nervous system, the way the secrets of this place were a part of your very DNA. Silas Blackwood understood. Or at least, he understood the Marchetti part of me. He was the son of our nearest rivals, the Blackwoods, whose slick, modern winery on the adjacent hills produced technically perfect, utterly soulless wines that were everything Sang della Terra was not. Our families had been locked in a bitter feud for generations, a vendetta fueled by disputed land rights, stolen secrets, and a simmering mutual contempt. Yet Silas and I, in the recklessness of our youth, had dared to defy that history. Ours had been a secret, incendiary affair, a stolen summer of midnight rendezvous in the old olive groves, of kisses that tasted of wild figs and rebellion, of a shared dream to one day unite our warring vineyards, to create something legendary. It had ended, as such things often do, in betrayal and bitterness. A youthful indiscretion, a family secret carelessly revealed, a catastrophic misunderstanding fanned by old hatreds. The details were now a blur of adolescent pain. Silas had left town abruptly, under a dark cloud of accusations, leaving me to face the fallout, my heart and my reputation in tatters. That had been nearly 20 years ago. 20 years of trying to forget the taste of him, the dangerous, exhilarating pull of him, and now he was back, no longer the ragged, passionate boy I remembered, but a man sculpted by success and an almost palpable ruthlessness. He was a partner in a global wine conglomerate, a man who bought and sold vineyards like chess pieces. His offer, delivered in the cool, shadowed confines of my grandfather's imposing, dusty study, was as elegant and dangerous as he was. A partnership, a significant investment, a plan to revitalize Sang de la Terra, to restore its former glory, utilizing his corporate muscle and my unique understanding of the Marchetti terroir. He slid the meticulously drafted papers across the antique mahogany table, his smile a subtle predatory curve. "A small price, Eleonora," he murmured, his voice that same low, intimate timbre that had once set my blood on fire, "for the very soul of Sang de la Terra." His eyes, dark and knowing, held mine. I knew then, with a certainty that chilled me to the marrow, that the only soul truly on offer, the only collateral truly at stake, was mine. Is heritage a sacred, inviolable trust, darling? A legacy to be preserved at any cost, even the cost of one's own peace? Or is it sometimes a beautiful, heavy, rust-eaten chain, binding us to a past that refuses to let go, even as it meticulously, inexorably drags us under? A question worth mulling over, perhaps with a glass of something suitably vintage. Desperation, as you know, is a powerful intoxicant. It corrodes principles, blurs boundaries, makes the unthinkable seem not only possible, but necessary. Liam, bless his pragmatic, unsuspecting heart, saw Silas's offer as a godsend, a lifeline. He urged me to accept, blind to the undercurrents, to the history that thrummed between Silas and me like a taut, invisible wire. He saw only a business deal, a chance to salvage our finances. I saw something far more complicated, far more perilous. The clandestine meetings with Silas began, ostensibly to discuss the finer points of the contract, the revitalization strategy. We met in secluded trattorias in distant towns, in the hushed anonymity of his sleek, modern hotel suite, and sometimes, inevitably, amidst the whispering vines of Sang de la Terra itself, under the cloak of a sympathetic twilight. The old dynamic, that dangerous, intoxicating blend of rivalry and attraction, flared back to life with an almost shocking intensity. He was no longer the boy I'd known, but the man he'd become was, in his own way, even more compelling, his intellect sharper, his ambition a palpable force, his understanding of my own conflicted heart unervingly acute. He didn't just talk about business. He talked about the land, about the Marchetti legacy, about the fire in the blood that he claimed still ran in my veins, a fire Liam, with his sensible spreadsheets and talk of diversification, could never understand, let alone ignite. He was excavating the part of me I had tried to bury, the wild, passionate, reckless Nora, who had once loved him with an almost self-destructive fervor. The affair, when it reignited, felt less like a new transgression and more like the inevitable, long-delayed consummation of an unfinished story. It happened one rain-swept evening in the old stone watchtower overlooking the southernmost vineyards, a place where we had shared so many stolen kisses in our youth. The storm outside mirrored the tempest within me. Liam was a distant, fading photograph. Silas was here, real, his touch a familiar, dangerous burn. This was not the clumsy fumbling of teenagers. This was a collision of two scarred, cynical adults, who knew the price of desire, the taste of betrayal, and yet found themselves irresistibly, perhaps willingly, drawn back into the flames. The introspective eroticism of it was not in any imagined romance, but in the stark, brutal honesty of our shared damage, in the way our bodies remembered a language our minds had tried to forget. His touch was a rediscovery, a remapping of old territories, an acknowledgement of the indelible mark we had left on each other. It was a desperate, almost savage coupling, fueled by years of unspoken resentments, unfulfilled longings, and the intoxicating, terrifying thrill of a shared, profound, and utterly ruinous secret. In his arms I felt not love, but a chilling, exhilarating recognition of my own shadow self, the part of me that thrived on intensity, on risk, on the very edge of destruction. When you uncork a bottle of lies, darling, be prepared for its complex, often deceptive bouquet to permeate every corner of your life, staining even the purest intentions, the most sacred vows, with its insidious, unforgettable fragrance. Or so I was beginning to learn, with a clarity that was as intoxicating as it was terrifying. The price of this rekindled darkness was, of course, Liam. He wasn't a fool. He saw the change in me, the new feverish light in my eyes when I returned from my business meetings with Silas, the way I flinched from his touch, the growing icy chasm between us. The man whose gentle love had been my sanctuary now looked at me with a confusion that slowly, agonizingly, morphed into a wounded, then a resentful suspicion. He confronted me one brittle autumn morning, in the sun-drenched kitchen that had once been the heart of our shared, simple life. He didn't shout. His voice was quiet, flat, heavy with a grief that was far more devastating than any rage. He laid out his evidence, the unexplained absences, the hushed phone calls, a receipt for a hotel I had no business being in. "Who are you, Nora?" he asked, his eyes, usually so warm, so full of an uncomplicated affection, now like chips of blue ice. "And what in God's name have you done to us? To this place? Is he worth it? Is this worth it?" He gestured around the kitchen at the life we had built, a life that now felt as fragile, as doomed, as a glass shattered on a stone floor. The choice he offered, the unspoken ultimatum in his gaze, wasn't a choice at all. It was a precipice, and I was already teetering on its crumbling edge. The true terroir of Sang de la Terra, the secret that gave its wine that unique, almost savage intensity, that fire in the blood the Marchettis had always prided themselves on, was not in the volcanic soil or the relentless Calabrian sun. It was something far older, far darker. Silas, with his insidious questions and his talk of unearthing the land's true potential, had led me to it, to the locked section of the oldest cellar, a place my grandfather had forbidden me to enter as a child. There, amidst cobweb-draped barrels and the scent of ancient, undisturbed dust, I found the journals. My great-grandmother's journals. Written in a spidery, elegant script, they detailed not just the mundane accounts of harvests and vintages, but the special ministrations required for the oldest block of Aglianico vines, the ones that produced the legendary Reserva del Fondatore. These ministrations involved certain additives to the soil, ingredients whispered of in local folklore, ingredients that spoke of blood rites, of ancient pagan pacts made with the earth itself to ensure fertility, to ward off blight. It was a tradition, a secret passed down through the female line, a heritage of darkness that had seeped into the very soul of the wine, into the very blood of the Marchettis. Silas, it turned out, had known, or at least suspected. His own family's lore was filled with dark whispers about the Marchettis' unnatural success. This secret, this tainted terroir, was what he had truly been after. Not just the land, but the legend, the darkness itself. It was the ultimate leverage, the key to not just owning Sang de la Terra but to becoming it. The climax arrived during the Vendemmia Nera. The Black Harvest, a local, almost superstitious festival that coincided with the picking of the Reserva grapes. Liam, heartbroken and disgusted by my evasions and the undeniable evidence of my affair with Silas, which he'd pieced together with a lawyer's cold precision after our confrontation, had announced his departure. He was leaving me, leaving Sang della Terra, leaving Italy. That night, under a blood-red harvest moon, Silas confronted me in the old cellar. Amidst the scent of fermenting grapes and unearthed secrets, he no longer feigned partnership. His eyes burned with a raw, possessive hunger. He wanted the journals, the knowledge, the power that came with it. He wanted to merge Blackwood ambition with Marchetti darkness, to create an empire built on a foundation of exquisite, profitable sacrilege. "This is your destiny, Eleonora," he hissed, his hands gripping my arms, his face close, the scent of him of rich earth and something wild, intoxicating. "Our destiny. Forget Liam. Forget your sentimental little moralities. This land, this power, it's in your blood. It is your blood." Standing there, the acrid smoke of ceremonial bonfires from the festival outside stinging my eyes, the weight of generations, of their sins and their sacrifices, pressing down on me, I realized the true terroir of Sang della Terra wasn't just earth and sun, or even ancient bloody rites. It was choice. It was the unending, agonizing choice between preservation and progress, between loyalty and betrayal, between the light of a simple, honest life and the intoxicating, consuming darkness of a powerful, tainted legacy. The wine of our family had always run thick, they said. I just never realized it was a different kind of crimson, the kind that doesn't wash out, the kind that demands a price. The worst part wasn't Silas's manipulation, his cold, calculated ambition. It was the dark, fertile part of me, the part that had tasted the forbidden fruit of our youth and had never truly forgotten its savage sweetness, that had willingly, almost eagerly, taken root in his poisoned soil. My choice, when it came, was as swift and brutal as the pruning shears on an old vine. The papers were signed, not the partnership agreement Silas had first proposed, but something far more definitive. Sang della Terra, with its secrets and its tainted soil, was safe, its future secured in a new pact, inked with something far darker than mere ambition, something that tasted of ash and iron. Liam was gone, a ghost on a transatlantic flight. And as I walked through the ancient cellars alone, later that night, the barrels, filled with the fermenting promise of the Vendemmia Nera, seemed to whisper my name, not in triumph, not in accusation, but in a chilling, eternal, almost satisfied complicity. Years passed. Eleonora Marchetti became a legend in the wine world, a recluse who produced vintages of unparalleled complexity, wines that critics described as haunting, elemental, almost dangerously alive. Sang della Terra flourished, its notoriety as much a part of its terroir as its volcanic soil. Silas Blackwood was a silent partner, his conglomerate handling the distribution, the marketing, his name never publicly associated with the Marchetti label. Yet his influence, his quiet, predatory satisfaction, was an unspoken presence in every bottle sold, every award won. Theirs was a partnership forged in darkness, a symbiotic, sterile success. Liam never returned. His absence was a constant, dull ache in Nora's soul, a reminder of the simple, honest life she had sacrificed on the altar of her heritage, her ambition, her self. One late autumn evening, a young, eager wine journalist, doing a fawning profile on the enigmatic mistress of Sang della Terra, sat with Nora in the firelit grandeur of the old manor house. The journalist, bold with wine and admiration, finally ventured the question whispered by so many. "Signora Marchetti, your wines, they have a quality, a depth that no one else can replicate. What is your secret? What is the true, unique ingredient of Sang della Terra?" Nora smiled, a slow, enigmatic curving of her lips, her eyes reflecting the firelight like a predatory cat's. She lifted her glass of the latest Reserva, its color a deep, disturbing ruby, almost black in the dim light. She swirled it, inhaled its complex, intoxicating aroma, notes of dark cherry, of ancient earth, of something else, something indefinable, something ferrous. She never told them, of course. Some secrets, like the deepest, most tenacious roots of an ancient, gnarled vine, draw their most potent sustenance from the darkest, most forbidden earth. And the wine, darling, the wine just keeps getting better, doesn't it? Each bottle a perfect, ruby red, silent confession, waiting to be uncorked. The taste of power, after all, is remarkably similar to the taste of ash. In the end, what is heritage but the sum of the beautiful, often brutal, lies we tell ourselves about the blood in our veins and the soil beneath our feet? And what is worldly success, if not the dark art of cultivating those very lies into something so exquisite, so intoxicating, that the world will pay a king's ransom to consume it, never truly questioning its provenance or its price? Uncork your deepest truths, your most unsettling philosophies, in the comments section below. We are, after all, connoisseurs of complexity here. Thank you for allowing us to pour you a glass from this particularly potent vintage of betrayal and ambition. If the terroir of thorns left a complex, lingering, perhaps even slightly disturbing note on your palate, please press that like button to savor its depth. Subscribe to our channel for more intoxicating tales cultivated from the often poisoned terroir of human darkness, and be sure to ring the notification bell. You'll want to be alerted to our next private tasting, our next rare bottling. Your discerning taste and continued patronage are what keep our unique cellars open and thriving. We are deeply grateful you chose to share this bottle with us tonight. May your own vintages be less complicated and far more joyful.